Science Unscripted.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Science Unscripted. It's Connor here.
And Gabe.
And we're going to talk marshmallow tests today. And for all of the people out there who have not seen some of these experiments before, it almost always involves preschool-aged children and what they get a marshmallow or pretzel sticks or even gummy bears placed in front of them. And the idea is, can you wait 7 minutes and get double as much as before? That's the test.
7 minutes.
Or 15 minutes. It depends on the experiment.
Easy test, in my mind. I mean, all you have to do is tell the kid, wait, and you get 2 marshmallows.
Or eight
super
gummy
easy
bears.
test. What happens if you do that test with a species where you can't tell it to wait?
Yeah. How do you communicate to an animal the concept of time and delayed gratification?
That's the first question. The second question, are animals good enough? Are birds, are parrots, let's say,
we're
good
gonna
enough?
Go to a researcher out of Germany here to find out how well those birds can perform under pressure. Her name is Desiree Brooks.
Science Unscripted.
So, my name is Desiree Brooks and I'm a researcher at the University of Gießen in Germany. I'm broadly interested in understanding how intelligent animals are, so how they interact with their social world and also with their physical world. And recently, my colleagues and I published a study about parrots and how good they are at delaying gratification.
And how good were they at delaying gratification?
That's really difficult to say because what's good and what's bad, it really depends on the species and which different aspects they're encountering in their daily life. So obviously a bird won't be able to show self-control up to 15-20 minutes if it doesn't make sense in its daily life, right? Why waste so much brain energy for something that you actually don't need? So it's really difficult to compare this actually between species because it doesn't make sense to show equally high levels for all species.
So how did you do your experiment?
Wait, can I jump in here for a second? Because this is a question I wanted to ask you, Gabe.
I have absolutely no idea.
Gabe doesn't know this. Gabe, and this was something I tried to figure out on my own about your experiment, and I couldn't. So with a classic marshmallow test, you tell children you have to wait 7 minutes or 15 minutes, and the child understands that. How do you tell a bird that it has to wait? Like if it waits, it gets a way better treat. That's my question to you, Gabe. How do you solve that problem? You need a bird to know that it has to wait, let's say, 30 seconds or a minute or whatever in order to get the reward.
There has to be some kind of reinforcement. Do they go through a few trials where they get punished or positively reinforced by waiting, by delaying their gratification? I don't know.
Yeah, punishment is never good because we want them to participate, right? So if they are afraid of coming into the test enclosure, we can't test them, we can't assess how their cognitive abilities are. So we need to reward them and to train them to wait. So for example, in this study we did it by giving them or just demonstrating how this rotating tray is moving within reach. So showing them the seed comes immediately, but you can't access it, and the walnut comes after a delay, and then you can have it. So they watch first, and then they can do it by themselves.
And what is a parrot's understanding of time? How do they know that they've waited long enough?
No, sorry, but this was.
How do you teach a bird that?
This was the part I was most impressed with, really, with your study. It's probably the most obvious, easy thing that you guys didn't even think was a big deal. But you have a wheel set up, and at the front of the wheel is the bad reward, the lame reward. In this case, what was it, a sunflower seed?
Yes, exactly.
So it was a sunflower seed. Who wants a sunflower seed? That's a terrible reward.
What?
Yeah, but I'm for a bird. So then the wheel's spinning, and then the bird looks, and oh my gosh, back there's something different. And once it's spinning, that's going to come to me in like 30 seconds if I can wait.
Okay.
Right? And what's back there? It was a hazelnut, right?
A piece of walnut. That's even more preferred. Yeah.
One of the best nuts.
Walnuts are good.
They are really good. And so then you, I guess I didn't see that part of the footage. You must have then, if they took that sunflower seed at the beginning, then you stopped the whole thing. Nope, you're not getting the walnut. But if they didn't, if they were patient and they waited, then they got the walnut.
Exactly, yes. So if they were able to take the seed whenever they wanted, but if they took the seed, we pulled back this apparatus so that still the walnut rotated within reach, but they could not access it anymore. So they still saw what's happening if they would have waited.
And you were trying to train these birds? Did I understand that correctly?
Not specifically. So we needed to train them to understand the whole test procedure that waiting pays out. But we did not want to train them to wait. So we really wanted to assess their individual motivation to perform this task.
I asked that because I think I understand the point of the marshmallow test on children, that if they show an understanding of positive reinforcement, of delayed gratification, of the understanding of incentives, that it will have an effect on them later in life. And also you can train behavior modification by doing that. But I do not understand the point of your experiment whatsoever. What did you do it for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on the one hand, there's this general interest in finding out how other species are solving this task. And parrots are really interesting in this regard because just like us humans or like many mammals, they have really big brains and a high neuron density. So they show cognitive skills which you usually would not expect in a bird. And those cognitive skills are really similar to those of mammals, even though they shared their last common ancestor 300 million years ago. So it's a great example to study how evolution led to these cognitive skills, like on two completely different scales.
Do you know which animal is the best at the marshmallow test or something like the marshmallow test? Are there? I mean, it's possible that there are animals that are better at it than we humans are.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. But one thing to consider with these marshmallow tests is that they're always conducted in a slightly different way, and small procedural differences might really lead to different results. So for example, if you increase the delay times not with 5 seconds but with 10 or 20, so if you go up too fast, maybe some birds will drop out or some animals, so it might not be that comparable. But based on the literature, it seems that, for example, chimpanzees are really good in this marshmallow test, so they waited for, I think, almost 500 seconds. And there was one other study on African grey parrots, but it was like a speech-based study. So it was looking or telling a bird to wait, who was trained to understand this command. And this African grey parrot waited for 15 minutes, which is pretty good compared to what our parrots did. But again, it's not really comparable.
But it is possible to speculate that a grey parrot, an African grey parrot, could possibly wait as long for a reward as a preschool-aged human being.
Yes.
I mean, those are similar numbers.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
They are just as good as kids, is what you're saying right now.
Except they can fly.
In this very specific task, yes.
Desiree, as I understand it, you've done this experiment on birds. You're working on an experiment on llamas and alpacas, and you've also worked with dogs, wolves, pigs. I can't even remember all the animals that you've said. I guess my question is for people out there who would look at a researcher like you and say, oh my God, that's the dream. Doing these interesting experiments on animals, you're not hurting them, you're just learning from them. How do you get into your field?
So first of all, I studied behavioral biology, which gave me like a nice background about how animals are behaving, how I can capture these behaviors. And from that on, I really tried to intense my focus or to focus on animal cognition. This is how you call this whole research area. And got the opportunity to work on many interesting projects. So if somebody's interested in these areas, it always helps to do research internships or to get in touch with researchers that do these kind of studies.
Science Unscripted.
That was Desiree Brooks. She's an expert in animal cognition at the University of Gießen in Germany.
Yeah, and one thing that I feel we have to say at the end here, we had a question. We posed a question on Twitter on our DW Science and in English and in German, our Twitter accounts, and got a response. And this person said, you know what, if you're going to be talking about the marshmallow test, perhaps you should mention that properly interpreting the marshmallow experiment findings is more complicated than it seems. And without going into too many details, it really is. So the popular perception of this experiment, the way it was interpreted, was that if a child could delay gratification and wait, for the big reward, that there was a lot of evidence showing that that child was going to have a really successful life. And that has been thrown into doubt, those results, by the same experimenter who did the original experiment.
Whew.
So you're fine? Gabe,
That is
your
big
children are fine?
news for one of my children.
Yeah. There was, without going into all of it, the effective conclusion is that socioeconomic factors, the home you're in, the resources that you have access to, the kind of education you're getting or not getting, that has a much, much bigger impact on your life than something like whether or not you can wait 15 minutes for an extra marshmallow or extra gummy bears.
So there is not an innate characteristic in your personality that will determine whether or not you're successful based on whether you can wait for a marshmallow?
That's an open question, and there was some nuance in the data showing that people within the same socioeconomic group, there were differences. So if you could wait, you tended to, I believe, perform better on certain tests, but it's not as drastic as people think. Basically, it's upsetting to watch kids in an experiment, and this kid can't wait. He's eating the marshmallow and just can't wait. And then you're looking and thinking, this poor guy is never going to make it in life, and I can see that. I guess I can see that right now. That's not true.
First of all, can we stop it with the marshmallow test? I think it's I think it's cruel.
No, you know it was cruel.
It's a cruel test.
No, I'll tell you what was cruel.
It's actually cruel what you're doing to these parrots.
The cruelest version of the test.
Or the chimpanzees.
2013 in Rochester, New York, where for half of the kids, 14 of them, they straight up tricked them. They said, if you wait, I don't know if it was 7 minutes or 15. If you wait, you'll get double the reward. And so these kids waited, and then the researcher comes in and is like, no, you're not actually getting that.
Why?
because they wanted to see if in round 2 they would continue to wait for the expected reward, or if they wouldn't. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise. I mean, why would you? At that point, you know what? This guy tricked me. Fool me once. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice.
No. George W. Bush got it right. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. You better not fool me again.
Better not fool me again. Well, I hope all of you out there have learned a little bit, not just about animal behavior and bird behavior, these 4 very specific birds, but human behavior as well, and how...
And chimpanzees, there's no way I could wait 500 seconds.
For a mallow?
For anything.
What if... Well, I'll leave that out of there. What would you be able to not wait 500 seconds for? That's a good question. We'll throw it out there. Go ahead and get in touch with us in any way you can. We are su@dw.com.
Oh, well, and their comments on these YouTube videos.
Oh, are there?
Yeah, so you can... So you do.
Science unscripted.